Midtown was ranked number 16 in Detroit and number 44 in Michigan of being a livable place. Although Midtown has a higher ranking than Detroit, this does not mean that it's a lower priced area to live. Most of the people residing in Midtown are affluent whites, and the cost to live in Midtown is too high for low-income families. Because of this, many African American families are pushed out of Midtown. The cost of living in Midtown is 10% higher than Detroit, which makes Detroit a more cost-efficient place for people to live. Social justice involves rights of privilege, making sure all people have equal opportunities no matter their race, ethnicity, or etc. The high cost to live in Midtown shows a definite sign of social justice issue because people who live in Midtown are more privileged than the other Detroit residents who cannot afford to live in this nicer area. Schools in Midtown have a 76% high school graduation rate, which is 7% higher than Detroit. Many believe that people who live in and around Detroit will not graduate, and the students themselves may think so. The fact that the high school graduation rate in Midtown is 76% draws students and parents into the area to have a better chance at graduating. As a future urban educator, I plan to increase the number of students who graduate by motivating them to be their best and making them believe that they can succeed. The social justice factor in this includes providing students with the necessary material and emotional resources while teaching and encouraging them. It's important for students in Detroit to know that someone believes in them, and that even though the success rate of graduating in Detroit is low, that they can break the odds. Getting to know our students and having them feel personally connected to us and the curriculum can help increase the graduation rate as well. University Preparatory Academy Mark Murray is an elementary charter school, one of 4 other schools in Midtown. Most of the students that attend Mark Murray are from the Detroit area, and only a group of students come from other areas that are usually dropped off by parents who work in Midtown. Some of the teachers who live in the area also walk to work every day. Charter schools like these in Midtown give people in Detroit the chance at a better education because of the resources that are provided within schools and the higher graduation rate that Midtown obtains. Many educational organizations are engaged in the community and with Mark Murray. Mark Murray works with Wayne State, where students come in for service hours and provide one-on-one work with students. Wayne State also allows the university prep schools to take field trips on campus. Wayne State focuses on teachers becoming urban educators, and students volunteering at schools like Mark Murray are provided with a chance to work in an urban area. This also shows students in Detroit that they can be a Wayne State student one day, and allows them to create relationships with college students who can help motivate them to succeed in school. Many of the students in the Detroit area will be first-generation college students, and Wayne State is a great supporter of this. With Detroit being such a poverty-stricken area, many children don't think that they'll be able to attend a college like Wayne State. But the college students who are involved with these Detroit schools have the chance to change their minds. As an urban educator in areas that are in poverty, it is important to help keep the students' hopes alive, no matter what is going on at home. My students will be encouraged to attend a college just like Wayne State and never feel like it can't be achieved. Children's Hospital and the Coal Injury Prevention Program are also involved with Mark Murray and other schools in the area where they provide car seat safety workshops for the Detroit Police Department Central Division. Many of the students have parents drive them to school because it's not in walking range and the school does not provide busing. This safety program is relevant in such an urban area because many accidents can happen in the flow of the city, and children need to be educated on proper car safety, like learning how to buckle up the right way, if they're old enough to do that for themselves, and learning about how important it is to stay buckled on the way to school. The program also includes a bike safety course, where students learn about the proper summer safety. The program demonstrates the importance of wearing a helmet while riding bikes, which is relevant because of the amount of accidents that can occur, especially in an urban area. The YMCA also provides a summer program called Girls on the Run, which is for girls in grades 3 through 8, where they inspire girls to be joyful, healthy, and confident using fun, experience-based curriculum which creatively integrates running. Girls from around Midtown can participate in this program to stay healthy and have a chance to play and meet friends. It's $120 for 20 75-minute sessions. This way, low-income families can still afford something for their girls to participate in. Keeping children healthy in low-income families is a challenge, in part due to the fact that coming by affordable organic foods is extremely difficult in the food desert known as Detroit.
The second graders at Mark Murray Elementary School go on a field trip to the Charles H. Wright Museum to explore the culture and history of African Americans every year. Standard 2, H2O.1, explains that students need to demonstrate chronological thinking by distinguishing among years and decades using a timeline of local community events in the second grade. When students go to Wright Museum, they learn about the important milestones on their journey for freedom in African American history. When you first walk into the Charles H. Wright Museum, you go through these two doors and watch a short documentary about the struggles that African Americans went through fighting for freedom. As you walk through, you get to experience the start of slavery all the way to freedom. These museums engage with the community by inviting families in and helping them understand more about the historical culture of African Americans. The Charles H. Wright Museum is culturally relevant because it shows the students a side of African American history that is different from the textbook. They get to explore things like the Jim Crow laws, the slave trade, and other social justice issues about African American history. One way one could use the Charles H. Wright Museum as a medium to make teaching more effective by, when on the lesson of African American history from the textbook, actually take the students to the Charles H. Wright Museum to get a more hands-on experience. This could bring the lesson to life for the students and make the lesson more understandable. The commercial uses of land you see in Midtown are restaurants, grocery stores, and gas stations. Restaurants they have are Coney Island, Blippy's, McDonald's, etc. Grocery stores are Whole Food and Food Pride Supermarket. Gas stations are Marathon, BP, Shell, and Speedway. The local subway near Mark Murray Elementary School does a great job engaging with the community and the school. In fact, during field days, Subway provided students with free lunches. For a teacher, knowing that Subway was providing lunch, you could do an economics lesson before field day. Standard 2, E1O.1 explains that students should be able to identify the opportunity costs involving in a consumer's decision. After field day, teachers could then have a discussion about the opportunity costs Subway had when providing lunch for the students on field day. Available transportation in Midtown are smart buses, cars, and the M1, which is currently being built. Smart buses are all over Midtown, and according to James, who takes the bus all the way to Roseville, Michigan, you may have to hop on a couple different buses to get where you need to, but they are convenient. The buses only take about 20 minutes to reach stops, so every 20 minutes there will be another bus at a stop. The M1 is being built now, and it was supposed to be a 9.3-mile streetcar, but now it is only going to be a 3-mile streetcar along Woodward. This will help the city because it will bring more people to the city. But the M1 was not supposed to be a tourist attraction. It was supposed to be a better way of transportation for the residents. Most people in Midtown walk to their destination. At Mark Murray Elementary School, almost half the staff walks to school. Teachers need to be aware of how their students are getting to school because if a child has to take multiple buses to a place, this could cause them to be late all the time. This could affect a teacher's classroom because they may have a couple of students who are always late due to transportation issues. A student may be missing the work or a lesson that the teacher is teaching in the morning. The way a teacher could help fix this problem is when you give the students morning work in the morning, you give them a little extra time so the students who are late have time to finish the work too.
Ms. Gehring, the literacy instructor at Mark Murray, implements an annual summer reading program for students so that they can get extra practice over the summer. A lot of the books that are available are ones that she has to pay for herself. Many of the students participate and benefit from this. Ms. Gehring does this because she's aware that the kids need to keep up with their reading, and for some, books are not accessible. This is a social justice issue because many city kids that come from low to middle class working families either can't afford to purchase books or have parents who are at work and can't take them to the library. Transportation can also be an issue for these children. Students that are living in poverty usually do not have educational resources available to them during summer vacation. Summer learning loss then becomes prevalent because they don't have the materials to support them academically. This in turn widens the achievement gap between students with low socioeconomic backgrounds and students with high socioeconomic backgrounds. Ms. Gehring proves that she takes her students' situations into account as she wants to make sure that they progress with their reading during the summer. She advocates for her students by running this reading program even though it takes a lot of effort, especially since the school lacks a library. While researching the Detroit Public Library, it came to our attention that the library offers a summer reading program that students from charter schools can participate in. The program provides books for children, free field trips to state parks, and opportunities for older kids to read to younger ones. This is offered because the illiteracy rate in Detroit is at about 47%, as estimated by the National Institute for Literacy. This rate puts many kids at a disadvantage as they might not have parents or guardians who can read to them or support them in this subject area, so providing these incentives to the children is essential to combating this issue, as is making sure that students are progressing during vacation. Field trips to state parks are also provided as children from urban areas aren't as privileged when compared to other kids who are surrounded by nature and for whom outdoor activities are a normalcy. In addition, the library boasts 3 computer labs that are available for student use. Students can use them for up to an hour but can ask for extensions if they're working on homework. The library can be a huge benefit for students who don't own computers or don't have stable internet connection. As teachers, being aware of the digital divide is essential as not all children have the tools readily available to complete projects and do homework. This information will help teachers in the surrounding area be more accommodating to a more diverse set of students by allotting more time for children to complete homework so that they can go to the library after school or during the weekends. Teachers can also partner up with the local library by asking the librarian to set aside some computer time and to pull out books relevant to the subject area for students. The Michigan Science Center is another great resource that teachers at Mark Murray can use to make teaching a few lessons even more exciting by showing the kids exhibits and galleries that tie into the curriculum. For example, one of the Michigan Science standards for students in the first grade is to use observations of the sun, moon, and stars to describe patterns that can be predicted. The center actually has a permanent space exhibit that can enhance the learning experience for kids, as they can look through telescopes, scale the solar system by distance, look at close-up images of the sun, and even launch their own rockets. Another permanent exhibit is the motion one, where kids can get first-hand experience into looking at many waves and vibrations as they investigate microwaves, radio waves, X-rays, and visible light. When students in the 4th grade are learning about amplitudes, wavelength, and how waves can move objects, the center could come in handy and help to bring the lesson to life. The distance between the elementary school and the center is about a 20-minute walk, so the kids can get exercise and no money would have to be shelled out for transportation. The center also has sponsors who would be willing to pay for a field trip, which would save the school and the students some money if that's an issue. The North Cass Neighborhood Garden is another place in Midtown that the school can get involved with. As volunteers are welcome, this could make for a great hands-on field trip for students and their parents or guardians. The small gesture of inviting parents or guardians along will give them the opportunity to be more involved with the school and will help create a stronger relationship between the families and the educator. Visiting the successful urban garden located in the students' community also shows that their community is valuable and has great assets. Reaffirming to students that their community is admirable is a part of having a culturally responsive pedagogy. This could also be a gateway for teachers to teach students about organic foods and healthy lifestyle choices, as there are few places in Midtown that sell organic foods. Detroit is sometimes referred to as a food desert because of this. Even when there is a grocery store around like Whole Foods, it's far too expensive for low-income families to shop at. This is a social justice issue because people living in poverty or near so cannot afford to purchase these foods and therefore do not have access to healthy, nutritious meals. The garden is also a great place for teachers to incorporate into the science curriculum. For example, one of the Michigan Science standards for 2nd grade is that students will plan and conduct an investigation to determine if plants need sunlight and water to grow. The garden would be the perfect place to use for this investigation by bringing the class over to compare and contrast plants that are cared for and under direct sunlight and plants that are not.
Library on Wheels is run through the Detroit Public Library. It is a small bus with a library on the inside of it. Most urban schools don't have the wide range of books that a full library would have. Library on Wheels allows schools to offer more book variety to their students. The library brings books and allows students to check them out. This is culturally relevant because a teacher can request books that are relevant to any specific student's life. If a student is going through a family divorce, a death in the family, or there is violence in any way at home, the teacher can request books that will help the child cope. For children and teens, one of the most active ways to help them face their doubts and concerns directly is by presenting them with characters that identify their emotions. Bibliotherapy involves the practice of using books to assist children and young adults with psychological, emotional, and other issues that turn up in their lives. As a teacher, it is very important to find ways to connect with students. When a teacher practices methods such as bibliotherapy, the students not only connect and interact with the book, but with others as well. It opens the lines of communication between teacher, student, and even student to parent. It allows students to test out their different emotions in a safe and risk-free environment. A large urban city is defined by a population of more than 250,000 people. While living in a city may not increase the risk of fire, demographic changes, including the growing numbers of older adults, people with disabilities, immigrants, and people living in poverty may impact fire safety in the city. Large urban city fire departments have particular challenges with limited resources. Working in high-crime areas, leveraging relationships with citywide institutions, reaching multicultural communities, and getting residents to focus on fire safety are just some. Intentional fire rates and arson fire rates are highest in large cities. Electrical equipment is a major cause of high fire in older cities. Large cities have a lower share of owner-occupied housing units. Students are a part of the community. If the firefighter can reach them, they can also maybe reach their families. Standard 2 in the Michigan Social Studies Standard states that students should identify services commonly provided by local governments. In the second grade, one way to do this is by planning a trip to a fire station or even bringing the firefighters to the students. This allows students to get to know their community and learn about fire safety. Ladder 7, Engine 17 is located right behind Mark Murray, a 3-minute walk from the school. While there are firefighters and the captain there were adamant on educating children on basic fire safety, not many schools take advantage of this opportunity. They said they would be willing to go to a school or even have a class come in for a tour. Firefighter Matthew made it a point to mention the importance of educating students on fire safety. He explained that fire safety plans are vital because you never know what's going to happen. During a fire, there could be a lot of chaos and parents and children could get lost. And that's why it's important to have a set plan and meeting area. Another problem that is raised during a fire is that at times children can get scared because they are not familiar with the fireman's suit. Ladder 17 explained that they do have programs that will allow firemen to give tours of the fire station and demonstrate the suit for the children. Most times they allow students to try on the suit themselves so they do not get scared of them. Lessons that are taught are firefighter familiarization, matches and lighters are tools and not toys, dialing 911, stop, drop, and roll, crawl low under smoke, smoke detectors save lives, home escape planning, consequences of fire safety, bicycle and pedestrian safety, latchkey children safety, and basic first aid. It is important to note that many students living in Detroit do live in apartments or subsidized housing. Matthew explained that if possible, parents should tag along when talking about fire safety because they play a major role in planning. If you live in an apartment, the historic First Congregational Church of Detroit is another institution that allows students to come and explore Detroit's history. The church places students into the life of an escaped slave. They are led to freedom by a conductor, hide from bounty hunters, cross the Ohio Deep River, take retreat in a safe house in Indiana owned by abolitionist Levi Coffin, and go on to Midnight, the code name for Detroit, where they then take safe haven at the First Congregational Church of Detroit before moving on to Canada and freedom. This experience is truly one of a kind and really opens the eyes of students to what slaves went through. While there, I was able to join a class on their journey, and at the end of the journey, the conductor asked students what they gained from this, and one girl replied, "I value where I come from more, and it helps me understand what my ancestors went through." Connecting with students is very important when it comes to teaching, and this lesson will allow students to take their history and learn from it. The story is important for the church because it is an important part of history of the city. According to Standard 4 for the Michigan Social Studies Standards, students need to use case studies or stories to describe the ideas and actions of individuals involved in the Underground Railroad in Michigan and the United States. The Congregational Church of Detroit uses real stories of escaped slaves, abolitionists, conductors, and bounty hunters to help students really understand the history of the Underground Railroad. This will allow students to not just read about the stories, but be a part of the stories. They are placed into the lives of each one of these people and understand what it's like to be in their position.
During this project, we all had the chance to explore Midtown and reflect on how to incorporate all that we learned about the community into the curriculum taught in urban schools.
Because of this project, we are now able to take our students to different facilities in Midtown and incorporate the community into our lessons. By culturally responsive teaching, we are expanding the students' education by bringing their community into the classroom.
Our role in the community is to teach with culturally relevant pedagogies. We plan to look into the communities that we will teach at in the future with asset lenses rather than deficit lenses. We plan to respect and honor our students' cultures, and we can do this by letting them explore the community and be active participants in what they learn.
Doing this project has made us more committed to teaching diverse students because we are now more aware of individual and community differences and how we can implement culturally responsive teaching to create comforting classroom atmospheres that will enable our students to achieve. We plan to teach them from social justice perspectives and will advocate for our students by any means necessary.